Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome back to Age of Fear 3, The Legends with me, Cornish-Knight. Now, this is a slightly longer video than usual. That's partly to do with the fact that I had a technical kerfuffle, and I had to do some tweaking on my end. It's nothing to do with the game this time, it was purely to do with me. So, let's get down to the business at hand. Last episode, we sort of took care of business. We beat the living daylights out of some sectoids, and now we're looting their stuff. I've been debating for a while. I'm probably not going to show you the DLC content. I might do like the first intro mission for each of the DLCs, and then I'll just show you like the outcome afterwards. Because they take a long time if I do them in episodic chunks, so it's just easier for me just to do them in one-offs and just to blow through them in my own downtime. I suppose I could use them to discuss about some of the tactics and stuff you can use in the game, but at the end of the day, I would like to get on and show you new content rather than showing you stuff that you've already seen before. So I probably won't. I mean, people have been asking me to do a tips and tricks video. One of the things that is slightly challenging to do with this, to do such a thing with these series, is because the factions are on because a third of the factions are on a different game each time. I would have to gather footage from each faction by making. I mean reinstalling the game and getting the footage and various bits and pieces. So I probably will. It probably won't. It'll take me a while to do it though, because obviously I need to reinstall and get game footage. Though I suppose if we use the very fortunate replay function that you have, the battle replay, where you can go back to previous battles and you can switch sides and oppose the side that you have, that could be done. I mean, general tips I can do right now. It's relatively straightforward. But first, let's just get through the cinematic, because I'm pretty sure there's one coming up.
It's been 11 days since I last heard from Azil. It's not surprising. He has but a few men now, and they're all wandering the Undercroft. Still, I'm concerned that he might have gotten lost in the tunnels. At this end of the Undercroft, I've been sent word by the hired adventurers that all manner of strange insects are emerging from the tunnels. They've included a very poor drawing of an insectoid, or what I think is intended to be an insectoid. While I hope that this mass migration is normal infighting among the insect population, it's probably fair to assume that something has disturbed them.
That something being us. This place is a goddamn maze, roars Balver angrily. Lexa, it's an insectide. It's meant to be keep left and we'll eventually get through it. These ones are fighting each other. I want to kill something, roars the Dryad. By all means, but please be quiet. I'm trying to communicate with them. But which side do I kill? The attackers? The defenders? All of them? Murder, 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 he mutters angrily. They're bugs. They all look the same to me. Both of you are insensitive racists, declares the Dryad. I can see a point though, they are being very racist. Right, help the defenders of the hive, destroy the insectoid attackers, kill everything. We could kill everything, I suppose. Destroy the insect hive. I'm probably going to do with the defenders and see what we get. Maybe we get like an insect queen on our side or something. Now, back to the topic at hand. My units are fairly good quality. Still not really enough experience. This is the thing I would say for anyone who's going into the Age of Fear series, is that you want to look at the skills. First of all, you want to plateau out your experience. You want to go from being a rookie to basically being a veteran or an elite with the particular skill brackets you can unlock. Once you've done that, you want to then look at skills. I mean, there are some skills that you might... I personally, from my experience playing this game, have found that the veterancy levels you can pick up are the most powerful thing you can get for a for a unit outside of either double damage or multiple attack skills. So that's why I will always, above everything else, always get like the elite, like the advancement, the quality advancement. You go from a novice to a rookie to a rookie to a veteran to a veteran to elite, and all of them tend to have massive stat buffs to everything. Sometimes they don't, but most of the time they do. So it's worth getting them. They also tend to be the most XP heavy, so the sooner you start working on it, the better. Then you want, like, it depends on what you want your units to do. For example, if I want to have, oh god, I don't know, have a treeman or some kind of heavy hitting unit, I tend to make them very tanky. I'll pick up as much defensive bonuses that I want. I'll pick up armor enhancements. Ooh, Dark Elf stuff. Very nice. Unfortunately, this is one of the few instances I can't pick it up, because if I give it to Lexa, who's not evil, well, she is evil at the moment because she has the demonic staff, but if I take away the demonic staff to give to her, she will no longer be evil, thus she cannot wield the Dark Elf staff, which is a shame. In my top 5 like magical weapons in the game, the Dark Elf staff makes it to like the third or fourth slot. Very powerful. They've nerfed it a little bit, but the developers probably did the right thing, because beforehand it was even more powerful, overpowered than it is now. It's a very good VIP sniper or elite unit sniper. You see an enemy, you shoot them with it. I'm going to pick up that crystal armor for my witch, because she is literally like a glass cannon at the moment with 4 defense. Nice little indicator that I can't use it in this character, but that's very nice. There are some weapons that I always like. There's some weapons and armor I always try and get no matter what. Dark Elf staff. Like, it depends what stage in the game you're at. Early on, like Wand of Fireball is really nice. Some of the melee stuff, the problem is some of my favourite melee weapons are ones that you can't unlock because they're story related, like the Soul Sword, which evolves the more people you kill it. I mean, the Executioner's Sword is very, very nice to get. I don't think you can get my beating stick, which the developers very kindly put into the game, as a magical item. I think it's character related. But the Executioner Sword is very nice. Early on stuff like the Swamp Axe, Ogre's Mace, Vampiric Blade, those are very nice. There's some really nice weapons floating about. I mean, like the magic staff wise, I suppose Fireball was very useful. The Hell Scepter is very nice. I haven't played with that many of the demonic stuff, to be honest. Partly because you need evil units. You basically need evil units to wield either evil or demonic, which really limits who can use them outside of Age of Fear 2. But there's definitely some very nice demonic swords. There's a couple that are like absolutely brutal that I really love. I can't remember, it's like a Doomblade is very, like Doombringer. Doombringer's a very good melee weapon. The thing is that if I had to make a top 10 like weapons list, it would be quite challenging, because obviously some work better in combos. Like one-handed weapons tend to work better. You can dual wield. Some units can get dual wield. It's very nice. It's just this thing I told you about. This game system is very complex. For example, are you making a dual weapon wielding build where you're aiming to get, as soon as you XP, as soon as your stat level is maxed out, like the elite veterancies that you can get to the advancements, if that's maxed out, are you going to make it dual wielding, shield and sword, two-handed? There's a whole bunch of things you have to consider before you go into advancing characters into this game. Right, Teddy, the dire bear goes roar. Balva, Hey, what are you doing here? He declares sharply as he catches sight of the bear. The bear roars again. Do you want another fight? I'm busy here, come back later. I think he wants to be your friend, Balver. Friend? Okay, why not? Ted, these are bugs. We friends tear bugs apart. Understood? Roar, roar, declares the dire bear. Determinedly. Right, so what are we looking at? We've got some... I suspect those are going to be our own control units off the top. Right. So let's get some people organised. It's going to be a pain because I'm going to have to split my forces. I'll try and stick one of my magic users down by the crystal so that he can just constantly spawn magic. I'll probably, in all honesty, I'll probably put Lexa there, because not only will she get return magic from the crystal, but she'll get increased magic from kills. So she'll be pretty much not unstoppable, but unmoving. That's probably the unmoving. That's a good enough term, I suppose. Yes, unmoving. Due to the fact that the combination that she'll be able to spawn high-level magic spells constantly, and she'll get mana points back for killing stuff, will mean that it'll be a lethal combination. I could have stick the dryad there, I suppose, but the dryad is predominantly my main magic healer, and I like to keep her at the front line, but just behind the front lines. So let's see how we're going to get this done. I'm probably going to have to send my fastest units to the northeast through the gap at the top, for the pass at the top, just so they can get there in time. If I send like my Ents and stuff, they won't reach it. Oh. Yeah, we've got control of like 5 insectoids at the top. I might lose them, judging from the fact that they're not as good as the regular insectoids. This is the one thing I would say, is that if you're going to give me identical units to the ones I'm facing, at least make them have the same abilities as the people you're chucking at me. Otherwise, like, to be honest, these guys are... the hunters aren't bad, but... yeah, it's not good, folks. I mean, all of these guys have stunning attack, which my insectoids don't have. So that, in my mind, as a player, that automatically identifies them as disposable units to me, because they're not as good as their identical units they're facing. They haven't got the same stats. At the end of the day, they would be nice to have in my army, but what if I lose my own veteran units because I'm trying to save these units? It's not a good situation, so I would rather sacrifice these units and protect my more veteran units, because in this game, especially, I find in my experience that depending what faction you're playing, there tends to be a cut-off point in the campaign where there's just no point bringing like new units in, because they will never get enough XP. They'll never see enough combat, and they'll never get enough XP to level up to the level where to the usefulness that you need in the later half of the story campaigns in the Age of Fear series. So what I tend to do is I tend to have like a huge reservoir of units that I just keep around in the background, so that in case a unit falls, I at least have a unit that has enough veterancy that I can bring them up to bar relatively quickly. Either that, or there are some ways to do it. If you can find the Moon Temple key, which gains you access to an area where you can literally just spend precious gems and gold as an XP drop for everyone, you can do that. That's something I've done before. But that requires you to hoard a lot of the items that you find in the game, and it's not always guaranteed that you're going to find the Moon key. I have yet to find it. In this attempt at the game, not this attempt, but in this version of Age of Fear 3. I mean, I found it in Age of Fear 2. Did I find it in Age of Fear 1? I don't think so. I don't think it was added back then yet. But I definitely found it in Age of Fear 2. I haven't yet to find the key in Age of Fear 1 to get into the temple. So it's quite a risky maneuver. You can do it. If you really don't fancy grinding units like late game that are rookies, because obviously sending units of low stats and low levels against high-end mid to late game units is suicidal most of the time. So that's something you could do. Right. I'm just going to have to hold this line here with these guys. I'm probably going to lose all of them. If not, I'm going to lose most of them. I cannot... The problem is that we're fighting vastly superior units. They've got more health than us. They've got stunning abilities. They've got healing potions. So yeah, I mean, the stakes are relatively stacked against us with these insectoids we have on our side. Right, our guys are going in. That's not too bad. Poison is going to suck. The war ogres are susceptible to poison. I should really pick him up the ability to counter it, but at the end of the day, I'd rather just heal him. This is my mentality to it. Okay, after all the time with Balva, my definition of crazy significantly expanded. After all the time with the Ulexa, my tolerance as old, mean, nagging hags is diminished. Both of you shut up, declares the Dryad. As I was saying, I'd rather just heal a unit and have them spend their XP on an offensive or if it's a defensive ability which is much wider arc than just poison tolerance, then yes, I'd probably pick it up with their XP. But predominantly, I want to go with offensive talents and abilities first, because in this game, it's better that you kill something quickly than it is you just try and take damage, because every time you get hit in this game you run the risk of getting an injury. So my view of it, especially on the slightly harder difficulty settings, is that damage well, it's not damage mitigation. I suppose in some ways it is damage mitigation, because if you kill something quickly it won't have a chance to damage you. Well, so then my viewpoint is that offensive damage negation, offensive damage negation is basically damage mitigation. Sorry, damage mitigation, offensive damage mitigation is probably the best way that you can do it. You want to hit us more than often than not. I mean, like, yes, your percentages are important, but if you've got 5 guys with 30% chance to hitting some person, it's likely one of them will hit. It depends. Especially on the different difficulty settings. The harder difficulty settings, you have to play tactically. You just can't stand there and slog it out with the enemy. It doesn't work. They've got better stats than you. They're going to have more abilities. They're going to have more units. They're going to be more aggressive. So you have to think tactically. You have to think, how can I beat these opponents? Like, one of the things that I do is that I hit units with fireballs, even if I can't have a low chance of hitting them or do low damage, I'll still hit them with fireballs for that chance that I get one hit off and the AI will go, oh, it's wounded, I better use my healing potion. Because the AI heals units in 2 ways in this game. It will either heal them straight away, which means that it burns its healing potion ineffectively, or it will wait until it's relatively low health and then pull back from combat and use a healing potion. And that's the definitive, not the definitive, but the 2 most common AI maneuvers that it does for healing, unless you have a healing unit in play and then it will just heal that unit. The human faction is very typical of this, which is that if they don't have a healer on, if they don't have a cleric or they don't have a high priest, the human units will fall back and heal, and then they'll come back in. Right, he's going after the mandrake, but they're not a huge problem. I'll probably pull that parasitic fungoid back and heal him. Yeah, these guys are pretty much totaled now. That's not good either. I have to get the big guy healed with the dryad. But yeah, I mean, the gameplay that you're seeing me doing now, like this style of gameplay, is fine on normal difficulty. On harder difficulties, you really have to think, how am I going to do things? if you are going to defend on harder difficulties, you need to have units which have been designed, that you've built to be mostly defensive. So their likelihood of landing attacks will be lower because obviously you've put all your money and all your XP into building a unit which the enemy just can't hit. On the other hand, you want to have units which are designated attack units. Normally heroes, I find from my experience that you either want to have dedicated like monster attack units like the War Ogre, like Knights, like Ents, or you want to make your heroes, if you have melee heroes, you want to make them as nasty as possible. You want to get them weapons that will give them double attacks or basically either multiple attacks or basically there's two kinds of multiple attacks. There's the one that allows you to hit, that literally allows you to hit multiple times, and then there's one that allows you to hit every enemy in base contact with you once. I think it's like called rapid attack. I can never remember. For example, some of the barbarians have it, like the barbarians in the demonic campaign have it, where they can hit one enemy. I'm pretty sure these guys have it as well. You can hit one enemy once, but you hit every enemy around you. So what you want to do is you want to make that unit as aggressive as possible. I mean, insectoid here, all the confusion, fear and anger. We could have avoided these fights, declares Nairi. Why can't I feel that? Mutters Balva. Because you are a violent and sensitive thug, declares Lexa. Fair enough. I mean, some units just late game, like not late game, but like harder difficulty levels are just not. And I won't say just aren't like viable, but you have to think about it. Like the demonic factions, Berserker, on harder difficulties, you'd have to be super careful with him because normally what you do is you chuck him in to a group of enemies and he'd go nuts and hit a load of them. On harder difficulties, that's not going to help. That's not going to really work. Let's see if we can poison some of these guys. Because obviously they're going to be hitting harder than you and they'll have more attacks, so your unit's just going to get annihilated. Let's see if we can get these guys. Come on, guys. All I did was manage to kill one of my own young. Well, that's not good. Right. He can stay there and just continue to poison people. Or we can even punch. It depends. I mean, some factions do better than others. The Ents, I mean, like, if you take the Dryad faction, if we were playing this on harder difficulty, I'd have to be a lot more cautious. My units that would be able to regen health wouldn't be as useful, like the Ents and the Spriggans and the Mandrakes. You would probably switch the style of play of the Mandrake. Like, I wouldn't use them as kamikaze units. I'd have them right behind my main combat line with their poisoned aura, and they'd just be poisoning units, and which would soften them up for my actual fighters to deal with them. Another poison spray. But he managed to kill off their own unit. But it's still, it's nasty. Yeah, I mean, normal difficulty in this game is good. It's challenging, the AI is challenging, and you can see a lot of variation in unit types and tactics. On the harder difficulties, you really have to, every unit has to carry their weight. You have to say, okay, these guys are going to be my front line, like sealed bulwark troops. They are going to hold the enemy and they're going to hold them there. So you have to build them like this. And you've got to say, these are going to be my damage dealing units. They are predominantly going to go in and kill people. And then you could have like your, if you've got a ranged hero unit, which is nearly always a mage. I've actually, to be honest, I think it can only be a mage. I've yet to see a ranged melee unit, like with something like a crossbow or a bow or a gun.
Say, is that yours?
But I might be wrong. At some point, the developers may chuck a, ooh, nice good fireball like that. See, that kind of fireball is useful because you're hoping that you can hit one of the units that's either low health or you hit one of the units that has a healing potion and the AI will waste it, which is always nice. But yeah, I mean, you have to, like, in the harder difficulties, you have to think what roles your units have in your army. Right, those guys are poisoned. Like, if you look at the dwarves, like, if you look at the dwarf faction is relatively straightforward. So you'd have your dwarf warriors would be your bulwark. They're going to stand there and they're just going to tank. You've got your dwarf, like, musketeers. Probably on the higher difficulties, the dwarf rangers would be useful as well because of their magical and poisoned attacks that you can unlock later for them, which would bypass a lot of the enemy's buffs that they will get at later difficulties. You're going to have your flamer units. To be honest, I don't know how useful the flamer units would be on later difficulties because they're relatively short-ranged range units, which is always a dangerous thing. But it's sort of like you'd have your main dwarf warriors hold the line. You'd have your death seekers and your hero units. Basically go around. They'd either flank or you'd basically entrench your hero units in the dwarf battle line and just slowly chew through them. The DLC hero, the DLC werewolf hero changes that a lot. He's a massively offensive-based unit, so you can really just chuck him around like nobody's business. Plus he heals and can turn units into werewolves. So in all honesty, you get quite a disposable force with him. Is that I've done it before. I've used him predominantly, like his werewolves that he creates are just cannon fodder. You send him and a bunch of them into a melee. Some of them will die, some of them will not. Some of them will get experience, and then you go on to the next fight with the units that he's turned into a werewolf. This fight is going relatively straightforward, so I know I haven't talked much about the fight. It's going relatively how I thought it was going to go. My units did relatively fine. The allied units we were given got creamed because they were, statistically speaking, vastly inferior to the clone units that they were fighting. I don't think I would have been able to save them without having massive risks to my own units, because I would have to have charged like the bear up, I would have had to have charged my other units up, and the downside of that is that it leaves them exposed, and at the end of the day, I care about my veteran units before I care about any other unit on the field. So, let's get these healed up. The parasitic fungoids are always a really nice staying unit. Any unit that has basically the vampiric ability is very nice, or has regen, because it allows them to basically double their fighting capacity. If you think about it, they can fight 2 units at once, which is always very nice as long as they hit. That's the important thing. They can hold out against 2 units as long as they hit every turn, and the enemy either misses or doesn't always hit twice every turn. They counterattack like that. See, if they attack like that, then the parasitic fungoids are in a bit of trouble. But we should always be able to hold for a relatively good amount of time with them. Plus, if you get them regrow, they can come back. So they're a very good delaying unit. I mean, this has gone fairly how I thought it was going to be. I got some lucky hits off with fireballs. My units have carved through a lot of their units. It's good. I mean, I would hate to see this fight on harder difficulty. Like if I was playing this on hard, hard or I think the last difficulty is like nightmare or something. Then this would probably be like a super hard fight, and I'd just sacrifice all the allied units. I wouldn't advance to this point. I'd probably just hold the choke points, one next to the mana crystal and one about where the dryad is currently at, and then just beat the enemy down. I would not extend my line as far as I had. I wouldn't also split my party as much as I had, because that's something you just do not do on the harder difficulties. Yeah, so we're relatively wrapped up. I probably won't clear up every unit by the end of this fight, because this video is going on quite a long time. So once the last enemy is like broken, I'm going to stop, just because. Okay, we're going to stop now, because these guys won't rally, and these 3 enemies won't rally. I'll kill them next session. So we're going to end it here, which is a good place to end it. And yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed. It's been a rather more intense episode. I normally just do like a tactical critique of a battle, but this time I just wanted to go into some of the more nuances of the game on harder difficulties because I thought it was appropriate, and how you would approach it. If you have liked, please press the like video. If you want to subscribe, please press the subscription button. It helps me a lot, especially in the current climate. True, guys, I'm not messing around. It's really difficult. But I shall see you all next time. Goodbye, folks, and enjoy Age of Fear 3.